Good morning, Morai Barabotai, Bruchim Habayim. We are continuing on Masechet Makkot, and we are on Daf Vav, Amud Bet, 6 lines down from the beginning of the wide lines. The Amar Rab Nachman, the Amar Rava. So it says, now today's Amud is being learned, the Zechut Refuah Shelema of Sarah, Bat Shoshana, Yael Bat Loren, Esther Shoshana, and of course for Refuah Shelema, Rachel Simcha Bat Nahit, that should have Refuah Shelema. So his Amud is also being learned, the Zechut of Hatzalah of Arvin Netanel Ben Sonyada. B'ezras Hashem, we should hear good news about him. Amen. Okay, so Amar Rava, Im Hayu Ro'in Et HaMatre or HaMatre Ro'e Otan Mistarfin. If you have two groups of Edim, this is what we left off. You have two groups of Edim, they do not see each other, but they imagine on an apartment complex, watching what's happening in the courtyard from the window, and they can't see each other because they're on the same side. But they see the guy down there that's giving warning to this person. Imagine there are 3 people down there, Reuben, Shimon, and Levi. Reuben is about to kill Shimon, and Levi is giving hatra'ah. He says, don't kill him. If you kill him, you're going to be killed. And these 2 people from up are witnessing what's happening down there. And 2 other witnesses from another window who can't see the other group, also seeing the matre. So if they see the person who is giving the warnings, they are mistaref, they are going to be included in one group of Edim. Now, of course, being in one group of Edim is a big deal because it makes a lot of halachic differences. For instance, if there are 4 of them are in one group, it's considered one group of 4 Edim, then these Edim don't get killed, right, until all 4 of them are going to be Edim Zomemim. If you only found 2 of them, this group or that group, to be Edim Zomemim, you don't kill even those 2 because now it's a group of 4. Until you make all 4 of them Edim Zomemim, you don't kill them. Also, it makes a big difference because if there are one group of Edim and half of them, 2 of them become Edim Zomemim, then we don't even kill Reuben down there. Whereas if there are 2 separate groups of Edim and one group became disqualified, but the other group still is testifying that Reuben killed Shimon down there, so we kill Reuben, we kill those 2 that became Edim Zomemim, 3 people get killed, and these 2 just walk away with a valid edut. But if they're one group, all 4 of them, and 2 become Zomemim, you don't kill these 2 and you don't kill Reuben. You don't kill these 2 because they're part of a bigger group of 4, right? And only half of the group became Zomemim, so you can't kill half a group of Edim because not all 4 of them became Zomemim. And we don't kill Reuben because their testimony also is out the window when they're one group with 2 other people who became disqualified. You understand? There's massive differences over here. So it says that's why it makes a difference to know when you have a group of Edim that's big, small, who's pasul, are they together, are they not together? It makes all the difference. So it says the Gemara, let's again. Amar Rava, Matre she'amru. Now, so this is the second sentence. The second halakha that Rava says, Matre she'amru, this that you have to have a warning before you do it and become chayav, afilu mipi atzmo, afilu mipi hashed. It could be based on the person himself. In other words, Reuben wants to kill Shimon, and Shimon tells him, don't kill me. If you kill me, you're going to get killed. This is Ritzicha. He opens the Gemara, shows him where it is, right? And then he kills Shimon. So the witnesses saw this. The witnesses didn't say anything, right? Not like the Shita that we saw, Rabbi Yossi, he says the Edim have to say the warning. But the warning, says Rava, could be from anybody. As long as we know that Reuben knew what he was doing before he killed Shimon, as long as we know for sure that he knew it, then we kill him. So it could be that he got the warning from the victim himself, or mipi hashed, right? And Shindalit told him that. It's not even a person. He wasn't a human being. So long as you know that he did it deliberately, knowing the consequences of his actions, it's good to go. So says the Gemara, Amar Rachman, Edut meyuchedet keshera bedine mamonot. Rav Nachman said, Edut meyuchedet in monetary law is kasher. What is Edut meyuchedet again? Review. That you have two edim that they're not seeing one another, but they both saw what happened. Right? One ed saw from this window, the other ed saw from that window, and we say, well, they saw the same thing at the same time, so we have one person here, another person there. We have two edim, al pi shnayim edim, yakum davar. That, we just learned in the previous stuff, that it's not a valid edut when it comes to dinei nefashot. Why? Because the pasuk says, let's remind ourselves of the drasha, al pi shnayim edim, or al pi shelosha edim, yumat hamet, lo yumat al pi ed echad. Based on two witnesses, or based on three witnesses, you kill the murderer, but you don't kill him based on one ed. And the Gemara said, what do you mean you don't kill him based on one ed? It can't mean that you don't kill him based on one ed, because that's already clearly indicated in the beginning of pasuk. He says, "Al pi shnayim edim." You need two edim. When you tell me you need two edim, I know that one ed is not good. So why do you have to say at the end one ed is not good? Said the Gemara, what it means one ed is not good is that if you have one ed here and another ed there, that they didn't see each other, communicate with each other, but they both saw the same thing happening at the same time, which is edut meyuchedet, that's invalidated. It's not good, right? But now that pasuk is talking about what? Dinei nefashot. It's talking about life and death sentence. Says Rab Nachman, it's only by dinei nefashot, because again, by dinei nefashot we have a mitzvah as the bedin, as the Jewish community, vehitzilu ha'edah, that we are commanded to see to it to save the life of that victim, or that person on the death row. We're mitzuvah to try our best to use any valid reason to save his life and not kill. Right? The Gemara says we'll have this, that a bedin that would kill a person in 70 years or 7 years at minimum would be called katlanit. It would be called an irresponsible bedin. It almost never happened, the death penalty. Rav Moshe Feinstein was asked from the mayor of New York City to explain to him the death penalty in Jewish law. And he tells him, he says, look, we don't feel that we have to punish people for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The ultimate judge is Hashem. And therefore, what he brings to him in the letter he wrote him, he brings the Gemara that says, even though that the Sanhedrin is batel nowadays, we don't have the Beit HaMikdash, but din arba mitot lo batlu. The judgment and the verdict being carried of the four, mitot bedin, the capital punishments, is still there. If someone needs skila, chas v'shalom bar minan, he gets into an accident, or he falls from somewhere. Gemara goes through all four, right? So Rav Moshe says, we don't feel like we're the judges for Hashem. Hashem is the judge. The punishments in the Torah are there for people to know the severity of the act, and also to have a certain level of reverence, that it's not like a haphazard, hefker world, but it is going to be din v'dayan. That's all it is. But we don't feel that, oh, you didn't kill him, now he just got off on a sketch. No, he's going to get his punishment. We know that for sure, right? So there is a din that we try to stay away from killing people, even on a death row. And therefore, says Rab Nachman, you have the mitzvah of not combining edut meyuchedet of these two edim together as one, right? But by dineh mamonot, by financial matters, if they both witness the same thing happening from two different aspects, let them be, right? Let us, as a bedin, take in consideration the two and combine them as one valid edut. That's Rab Nachman. So says the Gemara. Dichtiv, and his raya is this exact same thing that we just said. Lo yumat al pi ed echad, that we don't kill him al pi ed echad. B'dinei nefashot hu. The ein kesher. It's only in dinei nefashot that's not kasher. Aval b'dinei mamonot, in financial laws, keshera, that edut is considered good. Mat kifla. Rav Zutra asked Rab Nachman, what are you saying? Ela ma'ata b'dinei nefashot tatzil. If that's correct, that you're telling me that in dinei nefashot is not good, and that means we don't consider them as one group, so then at least it should be b'dinei nefashot tatzil. If edut meyuchedet is not, at least you should use it to save the lives, because again, when it comes to if it's good for dinei mamonot, it should be good enough to save someone's life in dinei nefashot, which is exactly what we said in the beginning of shiur today. That if you have a leniency of using this for dinei mamonot to say this group or this person and this person, they're combined, even though that they didn't see each other, they're combined as one. So then, if this is dinei nefashot, you should combine them at least. If you don't use the edut, at least use it to save the lives. Because again, that's why I said this in the beginning. I explained it in the beginning of the shiur today before things became complex, because now you understand it. You just referred to what we said 10 minutes ago, that if these two are combined, you have one group of 4 edim, then 2 of them are found to be edim zomemim. What happens? You don't kill this 2, and you don't kill Reuben. Whereas if you tell me that there are 2 separate groups of edim, then you kill this 2 that became edim zomemim. You also kill Reuben based on this edim over here. 3 people get death penalty. So if you could save the lives of these 3 people by usage of this concept of edut meyuchedet, according to you, we should do that. Says Mor Zutra, right? So says the Gemara, good question. Because the Gemara says, Alama tenan, why does our Mishnah say, Hu behen neheragin, that we kill Reuben and the 2 edim zomemim? Says the Gemara, kasha, good question. Which again means, usually in Gemara means, it's a good question, but it has an answer. It has an answer. It's not a tufta, it's not the end of the world. The Meiri over here says the same thing. But according to Rabbeinu Hananel on the side of the Gemara here, seems like this is strong enough of a question that the Gemara threw out the Shita of Rab Nachman. Threw out the Shita of Rab Nachman, which means, edut meyuchedet, when you have 2 separate edim seeing the same thing at the same time, but not seeing each other, not communicating with each other, that edut is out the window. Regardless of dinei nefashot or dinei mamonot, we do not reckon with that testimony. We throw it out. It's like 2 separate people seeing something which does not combine and it has no validity. It's like an ed echad, and that would be the halacha according to this. 2 dots. Says the Gemara, Amale, Rav Papa la Abaye. Rav Papa says to Abaye, Umi itle Rabbi Yossi hasvara. We learned at the end of the Mishnah that Rabbi Yossi holds that we have to give the 2 witnesses have to be the ones giving the hatra'ah to the person, right? You need 2 witnesses to tell the guy, don't kill Shimon. If you kill him, this is retzicha and you'll get killed. You need 2 people to say it to him. 2 edim. The 2 edim have to say it, right? That's what we learned. Which means, mipi atzmo, if the Shimon that's being killed, he himself tells him, is not good enough. If a Shindalit comes and says, not good enough, it has to be 2 edim. Says the Gemara, wait a second. this becomes a head-to-head collision between this Mishnah and the next Mishnah in Daftet. Not next Mishnah, but in Daftet Amud Bet, the Mishnah is going to have a Shita of Rabbi Yossi, not like this. So it becomes like a blatant stira contradiction between the two Shitas of Rabbi Yossi. On one hand, our Mishnah says that Rabbi Yossi needs two edim to warn the guy. And on the other hand, the Mishnah in Daftet, let's learn what the Mishnah is going to say. V'hatanan, we learn the Mishnah in Daftet Amud Bet. Rabbi Yossi says, Hasoneh rak mipnei shehu kemuad. If somebody is the arch enemy, right, sworn enemy of someone else, and he ends up killing him, right? Reuben, it's known that Reuben hates Shimon, right? And then Reuben ends up killing Shimon. He comes to Bedin, he says, I was chopping wood, exactly like the case of Chumash. I brought this up and he flew to his head. I didn't mean to kill him. It was not planned. It was not deliberate. It was beshogeg. I should go to Galut. Right? Says the Mishnah, Rabbi Yossi says, well, we don't believe him. Because it's vindictive. We know that this guy hates him. It probably was planned. Everything was organized. It's a very weak argument to say that this whole thing just happened, right? Because we know he hates him. So it says the Gemara, that's the Shita of Rabbi Yossi. Because he is like mu'at umutre. That means he is equivalent of someone that we know he was deliberate and we also gave him hatra. You're following? Because a person that kills someone deliberately needs hatra, needs warning. The Mishnah says Rabbi Yossi holds, this guy is like a mutre because we know he hates him. So he knew exactly what he was doing. It was planned. So wait a second. If you tell me in our Mishnah, Rabbi Yossi says that you need, the fact that he knew, it's irrelevant. You need two edim. It's a halakha, like halakha Moshe Misinai. You need two edim to be there. If he knows it, if he's a Tamil Chacham, if he's Gaon, he's Chacham Obadia, he's Moshe Rabbeinu. He knows the halachot. Doesn't make a difference. Even Moshe Rabbeinu would need two people say, Moshe Rabbeinu, don't kill him. If you kill him, it's retzicha. Still would need to happen. Because the din, it's a halakha, the two edim have to give hatra. His knowledge, otherwise, is irrelevant. And then Rabbi Yossi, in Daftet, just short 3 pages later, he says, no, if he knew it, it's fine. We don't even need hatra, because he knew it. It's just that hatra is only there to differentiate between deliberate and by mistake. Shogeg and mizid, that's it. So that's a head-on collision. That's a mamash estira between Rabbi Yossi and our Mishnah, and Rabbi Yossi, same person, in the next Mishnah. So says the Gemara, Amaleh, he said, yeah, it would have been a bomb kasha, but despite the fact that this is not the same Rabbi Yossi. Amaleh, Hahu Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Yehuda. Usually when you have in the Mishnayot, Rabbi Yossi, Stam Mishnah is Rabbi Yossi, right? One of the 5. But that Rabbi Yossi is who? Rabbi Yossi bar Chalafta. Stam Rabbi Yossi in Mishnah, the halacha is like Stam Mishnah, is like Rabbi Yossi, is Rabbi Yossi bar Chalafta. So that is the Rabbi Yossi of our Mishnah. But later on, that Mishnah later in Daf Tet is Hahu Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Yehuda. That's a different Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda, the Tanya. And I'll show you how Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda has completely a different shita. Clearly, not like our Mishnah that we're dealing with right now. Tanya, we learned in Braita, 5 lines up from the bottom of the Amud. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda Omer, Yossi bar Yehuda said, Chaver en sarich hatra. A friend doesn't need hatra. Lefish lo nitna hatra ela lehafchin ben shogeg lemezid. Because hatra is only there to make sure that the guy knows what he's doing. It's not like a halakha Moshe Misinai, that even Moshe Rabbeinu would need hatra. No. It's just, we want to know if the guy knows what he's doing. If we happen to know that the person knows what he's doing, we don't need hatra whatsoever. So therefore, a chaver tamil chacham who knows the halachot doesn't need hatra. Right? Because he knows that he just taught Makkot. He's like the Daf Yomi teacher. Well, he doesn't need Hatra. So it says, the Gemara, Davar Acher, the very last piece of the Mishnah, we said that we learn from Al Pi Shnayim Edim, Shlote Sanhedrin Shomat, Mipiat Turgman. You remember this? That the Pasuk who says, Al Pi Shnayim Edim, you matamit, that you kill the person based on the words of two Edim, the Mishnah learns that it has to be Mipihem, Velo Mipi Turgeman. The Beit Din has to understand the language that the Edim speak. It's not that they speak Spanish. I, the Dayan, I have no idea what Spanish is, so I need a translator to tell me, oh, the Edim said he killed him. That doesn't work. You have to be native and understand the language they speak yourself, directly. Says the Gemara, wait a second. Hanau lo asi, the story that seems to go against this. There are two foreigners that they came to the Beit Din of Rava. Uki Rava Turgeman Benai, who they did not speak the spoken language. So Rava brought a Meturgeman, brought a translator to stand there in the Beit Din and translate. Says the Gemara, we just learned in the Mishnah they can't do that. So it seems to be that Rava is To'eh Bidvar Mishnah. He made an obvious mistake, right? Ignoring and missing a whole Mishnah. Says the Gemara, didn't we learn in the Mishnah that the Sanhedrin cannot hear from a Meturgeman? They have to understand the language themselves. Well, it says, no, of course. Rava understood the language. He understood exactly what they were saying. But at the same time, he didn't know how to speak the language fluently, but he understood the language. It's like many people understand Arabic because their parents spoke Arabic, but you try speaking Arabic with them, they'll take forever. They can't get it out. Or same thing with Farsi. People, the sons of immigrants that understand Farsi, right? Because it was the secret language between the parents, and of course the whole point of secret language is that you understand it, but you just pretend that you don't understand it, right? But they can't speak back necessarily because they never really tried it. Fine. So it says the Gemara. Ila Vetuvia. These were the Edim, the two witnesses over a loan that happened. Krivet Arvahavu. They were relatives of the Arev, the guarantor of the loan. Savara Papa Lememar, Gabi Love Umalve Rechikinin, that by in relative in regards to the borrower and the lender, they're not relatives, so this should be kasher. Because again, if you want edim, the edim cannot be kerovim to each other. They cannot be relatives to one another. This ed and this ed cannot be relatives, and none of them could be relatives to either of the sides. Right? We spoke about under the chuppah. Right? Same thing is with a loan. Reuben is borrowing from Shimon $1 million, and you want to put edim over there. The edim can't be relatives to each other. The edim cannot be relatives to Reuben. They cannot be relatives to Shimon. Here, they were not relatives in those four relationships, but there's a guarantor on the loan, right? So there's a fifth person. There's Reuben and Shimon handling the money, Levi and Yehuda, the witnesses, and then there's this guy who is guaranteeing the loan for Reuben, who's borrowing from Shimon. Right? And the two Edim were his relatives. Right? So Rapapa said, well, they're not relatives of, Reuben and Shimon. They're not relatives to each other, so they should be fine. Rav Yehoshua said to Rapapa, Ilet lelelove lav batar arva azil. If the love doesn't have money, the whole point of guarantor is that if love doesn't have the borrower doesn't have money, the creditor, the malveh goes straight to the guarantor. And then you have this edim as edim psulim. So therefore, he said you cannot actually have a guarantor that is karov, is relatives with the edim either, and that is the halacha. Be'ezrat Hashem will start the next Mishnah in the days to come.